From the station working for you, this is Good Morning Indiana, streaming now.
And good morning to you, and welcome to Good Morning Indiana. I'm Lauren Casey.
And I'm Megan Shen. It's 5 o'clock here on your Wednesday morning.
And I'm Rafael Sanchez with your headlines on this January the 6th. A history-making moment as Congress prepares to certify the 2020 election results. The role that Hoosier lawmakers will play and what it means for their legacies and the state of Indiana.
Plus, Special Prosecutor Rosemary Corey is opening up about her role in the Drake John Reed case. Only on WRTV, what she's now saying about the high-profile case.
And a massive coronavirus testing program is in place ahead of the Colts game against the Buffalo Bills. How results from this historic undertaking could be used for future large-scale events. Well, again, I want to thank you for starting your morning with our team here on WRTV. Pretty quiet for our Wednesday, Megan. I didn't have any problems coming into work this morning. Can't really complain in January about the cold, right?
Not at all. Yeah, I was even taking my scarf off a little bit because I was walking in and I was heating up. But yeah, I'm sure it's nice and cozy as he's in his home, of course.
Yeah, you know, it could be a lot worse here across central Indiana this time of year. If you remember back 7 years ago, we had over 11 inches of snow right around this time of the year. So temperatures in the 30s with lots of clouds, not bad at all, with temperatures hovering right now around the freezing mark with skies that are mostly cloudy. The winds a little bit lower today than they were yesterday as well. So we've improved in that department. Where we haven't improved, though, is what's going to be happening going forward throughout the day. The clouds are locked in place here this morning across the area. And unfortunately, these clouds aren't really going anywhere throughout the day today. There may be a peak of sunshine here and there throughout the afternoon hours, but overall, pretty cloudy day for us. The storm system is off to our west. That's where that's going to stay. You don't have to worry about that precipitation heading in our direction. So today, a mostly cloudy day. Temperatures very, very similar to yesterday, as we'll be topping off in the upper 30s. And then with mostly cloudy skies this evening, we'll see the temperatures slowly fall back down into the mid 30s. Lauren.
All right, Todd, thank you. It's been pretty quiet on the road so far this Wednesday morning. Here's a look over on the west side of town. Our NDOT traffic camera here at I-465 near I-74 and Crawfordsville Road. You can see traffic there is quiet. We'll keep a close eye on your roads throughout the morning, let you know if there are any areas you need to avoid, but right now it is smooth sailing.
Thanks, Lauren. Today, a joint session of Congress will meet to certify the 2020 election results. It's a day that often goes unnoticed, but not this year. Our Kelsey Anderson joins us live now with more on the congressional controversy brewing on Capitol Hill. Good morning, Kelsey.
Hey, good morning, Megan. So as we all know, Election Day was in November, but today is when that 2020 election will be officially over, with Congress certifying the Electoral College vote that happened last month. So usually this process isn't something that's heavily covered, but it is this year because President Trump has not conceded the election. Now, the vote today begins at 1 p.m. and is expected to take a very long time. So during the vote, each state will be called and the results read out loud at the time. And any members of Congress can object to the results. And these objections have to be submitted in writing, which has been done by more than a dozen members of Congress. Each objection gets a 2-hour debate followed by a vote. And will this change the outcome of the election? Experts don't believe it will, because a majority of the House and Senate would have to object, and they say that's very unlikely. And the Constitution and election law both say that that's not the case.
Both the constitutional provisions in the 12th Amendment and the statute give the vice president an incredibly ceremonial role of opening the results of the election, opening the envelopes that have the results of the Electoral College's action and the state's certification of what the Electoral College has done. He opens the envelopes. That's it.
So the last time an objection like this occurred was 15 years ago by Democrats who believe that voters were disenfranchised in the state of Ohio, and that could have helped John Kerry defeat George W. Bush. Now, the key difference in 2020 compared to 2005 is that Senator Kerry did not support the effort, and this time President Trump does. Of course, we will update you on what happens in today's vote on WRTV. Reporting live, Kelsey Anderson, WRTV.
Thanks, Kelsey. As we told you, the pressure is on for Vice President Mike Pence. The former Indiana governor will preside over the vote today. And during a rally in Georgia Tuesday, President Trump called on Pence to challenge the votes in a handful of states. Overnight, the Trump campaign tweeted a statement from the president. It says he and Pence are in, quote, total agreement, and that Pence has the constitutional authority to decertify the results or send them back to states. Sources say the vice president has no plans to try to block the certification of President-elect Joe Biden's win.
On this Wednesday, and only on WRTV, the special prosecutor who led the investigation into the shooting death of Dre'Jon Reed is speaking publicly for the first time since that November decision. The one item that we could not discuss, the grand jury proceedings. But Special Prosecutor Rosemary Curry says the decision made back in November was all based on the evidence. During a foot chase on May the 6th, Dre'Jon Reed was shot and killed by Metro Police Officer DeJour Mercer in an exchange of gunfire. The special prosecutor called on state police to investigate and for a grand jury to review the case. That grand jury reached a no-bill decision, meaning no criminal charges against the officer.
The grand jury, they were extremely dedicated to this case. They were attentive the entire process. And it's a system and it's a set of rules that must be followed. And I believe that we followed those rules, and we all, including my investigators, we all did the best that we could to follow those and adhere to those rules.
Coming up all new at 6 a.m. here on WRTV, our exclusive discussion continues with the special prosecutor. I did ask her about how gender and race became public issues in this high-profile case. More of our discussion coming up right here on Good Morning Indiana. Lauren?
And Raphael, the time right now is 5:06. The Indiana Department of Correction has added a Deputy Commissioner of Diversity and Development. Angela Sutton will be tapped for that role. In her position, Sutton will supervise the Staff Development and Training Division, as well as the Executive Director of Diversity and Veterans Affairs. She'll also work with both staff and offenders to promote inclusive, diverse environments throughout the Department of Corrections. Sutton will collaborate with IDOC leaders to attract, retain, and promote diverse workforce and provide guidance for programs and training focused on equity and inclusion.
Turning now to the latest on the coronavirus, nearly 3,500 more Hoosiers have tested positive for COVID-19. That's according to the latest data from the State Department of Health. To date, more than 533,000 Hoosiers have tested positive for the virus. As of this morning, our 7-day positivity rate is just under 16%. State health officials also report another 142 new COVID-related deaths. 184 of those reported this month alone. Since March, 8,292 Hoosiers have died with COVID-19. A major concern is around hospital capacity and resources. And as of this morning, more than 2,900 Hoosiers are hospitalized with the virus or a suspected case of the virus. Statewide, those patients are using about 27% of ICU beds and just under 12% of ventilators.
Megan, as more vaccines head to Indiana, we're getting an insight into how some cities will be getting those vaccines to people. The Fishers Health Department hopes to create a vaccine roster. Residents who are interested in getting vaccinated can fill out that information on an online survey. The Fishers Public Health Director, Monica Heltz, she says the first doses will continue to go to those identified by the state, as you know, healthcare workers and first responders. Heltz says the state has not yet to say which groups will be next to get vaccinated, so her department is taking a proactive approach while they wait.
Because we don't know who's next and we don't know how people will continue to be notified once they get through these employer notifications, we want to have an active process for notifying our residents when the vaccine is available to their group.
We have a link to that survey and more information on the WRTV app. On this Wednesday morning, hey Todd, walked outside this morning here in Johnson County. Just me, the streetlights, the parked cars, feeling pretty good out here at so early in the morning.
Yeah, you know, it's not bad. Temperatures are hovering right around freezing. Our average low this time of year is in the 20s, so we're actually running a little bit warmer during the overnight hours, and that's due to the cloud cover that is out there. Those clouds, though, not producing any precipitation whatsoever. As far as the snowfall totals go so far this winter season, officially at the airport, we've only picked up 2.7. I know locations to the north, you've picked up a lot more than that, but these are the numbers at the airport in Indy. And so we're quite far below the average. Normally we should be around 9.5 inches of snow at this point, but well, we've only had a couple small snow makers here and there. We had the freezing rain on New Year's morning. Today, though, it's just cloudy for your commute to work, going and coming home. 28 the temperature here this morning, as we should drop another couple degrees for your overnight low, and then as you come home, temperatures right around 38 degrees. This quiet weather pattern, well, that is going to continue as we work our way over the course of the next few days. We'll break it down for you in just a couple minutes.
Thanks, Todd. Well, a Notre Dame professor is speaking out after the university changed its remote teaching criteria. Up next, why he's calling the new policy outrageous and infuriating.
And Megan, businesses are getting an extra incentive to help people out with their student loans. How you can cash in on this benefit. That and much more on Good Morning Indiana, right here on WRTV.
The car you want, the way you want.
Welcome back. New this morning, a Notre Dame professor is criticizing the university's remote teaching policy. After being approved to teach remotely in the fall, Robert Norton was rejected for the spring semester. Norton says he believes his initial approval was granted because he commutes from Chicago. In the fall, commuting would violate the city's travel ban. But for this semester, the university changed its accommodation policy, and Norton says he was repeatedly told he did not meet the criteria to teach remotely. After reaching out to his doctor and exchanging several emails with the school, he was finally approved. But Norton says the process was unprofessional and infuriating.
Can I do everything I can to prevent myself from catching this disease? They say, no, you can't. We're not going to let you do that. It occurred in such a slipshod, unprofessional way.
Well, Notre Dame Vice President Paul Brown responded in a statement saying in part, quote, in-person instruction is intrinsic to the Notre Dame experience, and fortunately 85 to 90% of the instruction was delivered in person in the fall. There was no evidence of virus transmission in the classroom, end quote.
The number of COVID cases across the country is putting a strain on contact tracing efforts. Now some health departments are asking people to do their own self-exposure notification. A professor with the University of Michigan School of Public Health says asking people to do this job themselves isn't the preferred strategy, but it's better than having no information at all. Still, there are things we're missing by not having a public health worker involved. You can help ease some of the strain on contact tracers that they're facing right now by following the public health measures like wearing a mask and social distancing.
All good things to remember, Megan. The Rebound Indiana, our commitment here at WRTV to connect you and businesses to the resources that you need that will help you get beyond, of course, this pandemic. The Wayne Township trustee on the west side of Indianapolis now offering a financial boost to help small businesses in that township. Small business owners can now apply for the Helping Hand Grant. 30 eligible businesses will be awarded $2,000, which can be used for payroll, taxes, utilities, rent, or mortgage. Now, the deadline to apply is a week from today, January the 13th. Businesses are eligible if they were established in Wayne Township by the year 2018, have at least 4 employees, and can demonstrate a decrease in revenue due to the pandemic and Marion County's public health orders. You can find a link to apply in this story on the WRTV app. Recipients will be announced on January the 20th. Lauren?
Raphael, businesses are getting an extra incentive to help people out with their student loans. The latest stimulus package extends a tax benefit for companies offering this assistance. Employers are allowed to make tax-free contributions up to $5,250 a year towards their employees' student loans. The benefit is set to go until the end of 2025, but one student loan expert tells us that he expects this could eventually become permanent.
benefit of making it permanent is there are some employers who are still sitting on the fence with regard to offering this benefit because they don't want to offer the benefit and then have to stop offering it when Congress, if Congress doesn't extend it.
Well, federal student loan payments are currently paused through the end of the month, but employers can still make these contributions, and that will go entirely to the principal of your loan.
Lauren, the Colts are getting ready to take on the Bills on Saturday in the NFL wildcard round. Up to 6,700 fans will be allowed in the stadium. That's about 10% capacity. All fans must test negative within 72 hours of kickoff. A stadium parking lot will be converted into a testing site tomorrow and Thursday. If successful, the program could be used for other events.
Be 30 lanes of traffic so that we can move people in relatively quickly in and out. Broadway, opera, movie houses, restaurants, other types of retail venues can begin to open with other testing schemes.
The game against the Colts will be the Bills' first home playoff game in a quarter century. And speaking of the blue and white, two Colts icons are among the 15 finalists for the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Peyton Manning and Reggie Wayne, of course, those two are very, very well known. This is the first year of eligibility for Manning and the second for Wayne. The class of 2021 will be revealed during the week leading up to the Super Bowl. The newest Hall of Famers will be announced in August. All right, Todd. Well, we're taking a look at the weather now. Time now is 5:18.
Yeah, I think it's pretty much a slam dunk that Peyton Manning is going to get in this year, and hopefully we get Reggie Wayne in there at the same time. Wouldn't it be nice to see Peyton throw one last pass to Reggie there on the podium as they're both getting their gold jackets? All right, outside right now, we have lots of clouds that are in place across central Indiana. Been sounding like a broken record the past couple days, but nothing is really changing in this weather pattern here over the course of the past few days, and even going forward, there's not going to be a lot in the way of change either. Temperatures are sitting in the 30s in all locations. That's probably an error there in Sullivan at 22. 32 in Indy as well as Greenfield. 33 is the current temperature in Bloomington. 31 is the current temperature up in Peru, and 32 in Tipton. So everybody's within a couple degrees of each other. As the clouds continue to stick in place, our temperatures are probably not going to move much more. We'll continue to probably fall just a couple degrees here this morning into the upper 20s before we see the temperatures climb back up into the mid 30s later on this afternoon. Here are the clouds that are currently there. You notice there's a few areas trying to clear out here and there, and it may have some success here this morning clearing out in spots, but then as the sun comes up and we start to build in a little bit of that warmth, if you want to call it that, going up a couple degrees, I do think the clouds are going to fill back in. As far as our storm systems go, it's a pretty quiet weather pattern for us. This storm system is off to our west. That'll not impact us. In fact, it's going to continue to move to the south, and it becomes a storm system here down across the parts of the Gulf Coast. And the main storm track is just going to stay to the south of Indiana, at least for the next couple days. So there are storms out there. They're just not going to be impacting us directly here. Indirectly, they will with some of the cloud cover that will be around. Temperatures today in northern locations, about 35 in Logansport, 34 in Frankfort, 36 in Anderson, mid to upper 30s here through the central portion of the state. 37 today's high in Indy, 39 in Martinsville, and then near 40 degrees in southern locations. Going forward in this forecast, as you look at your 7-day planning forecast, today, tomorrow, and Friday feature quite a bit in the way of cloud cover. As I advance to the coming days, finally for the weekend, we get some sunshine back into the forecast with temperatures that'll be running in the 20s in the morning hours and mid 30s, Lauren, throughout the afternoon.
All right, Todd, thank you. Let's take a look at your commute this morning. This is over on the southeast side of town. Our NDOT traffic camera, traffic moving on I-74 and I-465. You can see traffic there is traveling smoothly. We'll keep you updated if there are any crashes to slow you down. But right now, as I just took a look around central Indiana, it looks like things are moving along up to speed. Raphael?
Looking good. Thank you so much, Lauren. In health news this morning, listen up. A new study shows that too much sleep, get this, too much sleep cannot be bad for your brain health later in your life. Researchers at Boston University Medical Center found that people who slept more than 9 hours a night doubled their risk of developing dementia. They also discovered the increased incidence of dementia was connected to people with less than a high school diploma. Scientists say the self-reporting of sleep duration is a good first step for screening for dementia. We'll have to keep up to date on that study. Megan?
Well, Raphael, if you're looking to follow a healthier eating plan for 2021, here's some news you can use. The Mediterranean diet has been named the best overall diet for the 4th year in a row. The plant-based diet focuses on eliminating or reducing processed foods. It centers on fruits, vegetables, beans, lentils, whole grains, nuts, and seeds. Tied for second place, the DASH diet, which stands for Dietary Approaches to Stop Hypertension, and the flexitarian diet, which encourages being a flexible vegetarian. Weight Watchers rounds out the top 3 best overall diets. Hippies are now welcome. Coming up, how Woodstock inspired a 50-year-old Indiana law.
And a new children's book celebrating creativity and busy imaginations is out now. Coming up, all new at 5:30, we'll talk to the local author behind the book. It is 5:23. Stick around. We'll be right back.
WRTV.
Welcome back to Good Morning Indiana. And Indiana County is doing away with a 50-year-old law that's intended to ban hippies.
Lauren, LaGrange County enacted a measure banning large gatherings back in 1971. The county didn't want a festival like Woodstock coming to the area, Raphael.
And so, Megan, we're going to take you on a road trip because LaGrange County is on the border with Michigan, just north of Fort Wayne. The law regulated large crowds, more than 500 people we're talking about, who were hanging out for more than 12 hours. A former LaGrange County Commissioner, Dennis Kratz, called it the anti-hippie ordinance. Those are his words, so don't email me on that. It was recently dropped as part of an effort to repeal outdated ordinances and outdated words. So now, of course, hippies are welcome in LaGrange County. It's a beautiful part of our state in the fall, and we should all visit. We should all take a pack into
road
Todd's
trip.
big BMW and just head north to LaGrange County.
Ready
Todd?
for it.
All right, sounds like a plan. While we're up there near Angola, we can head to the state park there and do the toboggan run that they have. All right, outside right now, we are dealing with temperatures that are sitting in the 30s all across the area. 33 in Bedford, 32 in Martinsville, 32 in Indy as well as we work our way forward throughout the course of the day today. We're locked in with the clouds again this morning. Temperatures will slowly start to climb up into the mid-30s. I don't think today we have that drizzle or a flurry here and there and that moisture that was trapped like yesterday. So I'm hopeful for a little bit of sunshine this afternoon. It'll be a peak here and there with temperatures in the upper 30s. The time now is 5:28. You're watching Good Morning Indiana right here on WRTV. Stay with us. We're back in just a couple minutes.
.com/choose kindness.
From the station working for you, this is Good Morning Indiana, streaming now.
Now at 5:30, Congress will gather today to certify the 2020 presidential election. Our Kelsey Anderson explains the controversy on Capitol Hill and the role Indiana lawmakers will play in that critical vote.
And today, we expect to learn more about Indiana's next steps to distribute the COVID-19 vaccine, what a local doctor recommends pregnant women consider about getting that vaccine.
Good morning to you and yours at 5:31. Thanks for joining us for Good Morning Indiana. Megan, Shen, and Lauren. Man, oh man, does it feel like a Wednesday.
Oh my goodness, we are working our way up the hill. We're about halfway through the work week. And of course, we want to say good morning to our good pal, Raphael, who's working from home. Hey, Raphael, how you doing?
Hey, Raph.
So there's a hill. I don't like the hill. I'd rather just work on a flat surface.
Oh, there's a hill. There's a definite hill.
Oh, wow. Hey, Todd, as we're walking up against this mountain, if you go outside right now, I know it's winter, but with no breeze really here in Johnson County, it feels pretty good out there.
Yeah, you know, it's not bad. I always say the wind this time of year, and any time of year, I guess, but more so in the winter, is the ultimate equalizer. It can be 30 degrees like it is here this morning, or 32 in Indy with no wind, and it doesn't feel terrible tolerable. I mean, still chilly, obviously, but 32 with gusty winds feels a whole lot different. So yeah, whenever there's no wind, we're in much better shape. You still need the coat, obviously, with temperatures around freezing, and some of you may want the hat and gloves, especially if you're going to be out for an extended period of time. But look across the entire state here. Temperatures only differ a couple degrees. 28 in Evansville and Gary, 32 in Indy, 31 is the current temperature in Peru, and that's because we're all locked in with the cloud cover that's in place across the area. These clouds again today are going to hold pretty firm. It's not until probably late this afternoon that there could be a peak of sunshine, but definitely not a guarantee. With highs today, they'll be topping off right around 37. We're stuck with the clouds a few more days, Lauren, but by the time we get to the weekend, there are some changes. More on that coming up in just a few minutes.
All right, Todd, thank you. Let's take a look right now at your commute as you're heading out the door this morning. This is to our west, I-70 here of you near Holt Road. Traffic starting to pick up a little bit, both eastbound and westbound on the west side, but overall things are traveling up to speed. We'll keep you updated if there are any slowdowns for your commute.
Thanks, Lauren. Today on Capitol Hill, some Republican lawmakers plan to oppose a certification of President-elect Joe Biden's win from last November, Raphael.
And Megan, like the song in the musical Hamilton says, history has its eyes on you. Our Kelsey Anderson, she joins us live this morning as Hoosier lawmakers will be in the middle of this history-making day. Kelsey, good morning.
Hey, good morning, Raphael. So as we all know, Election Day was in November, but this election really won't be over until today after there's an after Congress either approves or denies the Electoral College vote that happened last month. Now, usually this process isn't something that's heavily covered, but it is this year because President Trump has not conceded the election. Now, that vote today, it begins at 1 p.m. and is expected to take a very long time. So during the vote, each state will be called and the results read out loud. And at that time, any member of Congress can object to the results. These objections have to be submitted in writing, which has been done by over a dozen members of Congress. Each objection gets a 2-hour debate followed by a vote. Now, will this change the outcome of the election? Experts believe it will not because a majority of the House and Senate would have to object, and they say that is unlikely.
You could certainly see some of his supporters in Congress try to raise challenges. It is a question, they're not going to pass. They're not going to succeed in undoing the electoral vote.
So the last time an objection like this occurred, it was 15 years ago by Democrats who believed that voters were disenfranchised in the state of Ohio, and that could have helped John Kerry defeat George W. Bush. Now, the key difference from 2020 to 2005 is that Senator Kerry did not support the effort, while, of course, President Donald Trump, he does support the effort that's happening today. Reporting live, Kelsey Anderson, WRTV.
Kelsey, thank you so much. The nation will be watching this afternoon. Democrats are one seat closer to gaining control of the U.S. Senate as votes continue to be counted in the state of Georgia. Overnight, ABC News projecting that Democrat Reverend Raphael Warnock will become the first African-American senator in Georgia's history. His secured seat now means that the fate of the Senate majority lies in Georgia's second race between Democrat John Ossoff and incumbent Republican David Perdue. That race is still too close to call. Now, if the seat goes red, so will the Senate majority. If it goes blue, the Senate will be split 50-50, with Vice President-elect Kamala Harris being the deciding vote in the case of a tie. Lauren?
Raphael, it is 5:36 on our Wednesday. Let's talk about the spread of COVID-19 here in the state of Indiana. The State Department of Health is reporting another spike in COVID-related deaths. 142 new deaths were reported on Tuesday, though some of those numbers date back to the end of November. 8,292 Hoosiers have died with the virus since the pandemic began. More than 3,400 new cases were also reported. Indiana has now recorded more than 533,000 total cases so far.
Good morning to Lebanon, Columbus, and Franklin. During the governor's weekly update this afternoon, Megan, we expect to learn more about Indiana's next steps to distribute the COVID-19 vaccine.
Yeah, Raphael, so far, healthcare workers, residents of long-term care facilities, and first responders are the only groups that can get the shot. Some pregnant healthcare workers are concerned with the safety of the vaccine, though. We spoke with an Ascension St. Vincent OBGYN about it. She says pregnant women were not included in the clinical trials for the Moderna Moderna or Pfizer vaccine. So there's only limited data at this time, but the doctor says that pregnancy does put women in a higher risk category.
We do know that our pregnant moms are at higher risk of severe versions of COVID-19. They're more likely to be hospitalized. They're more likely to go through respiratory failure or require a ventilator. And unfortunately, even at higher risk of death from COVID-19. When the time comes that you are offered the vaccine, you really need to sit down and have a conversation with your obstetric provider about what your personal risks are, what that benefit from the vaccine would be, and to make that personalized decision at that time.
Good advice. She says the bottom line for pregnant women or women who are considering getting pregnant is this: avoid gatherings, follow guidelines to stay safe, and stop the spread.
Well, you can now take an FDA-authorized COVID-19 test right from the comfort of your own home. You can even order it on Amazon. The Food and Drug Administration gave the emergency use authorization for the dexterity test last month. One kit is currently available for $110, or you can get a 10-pack for $1,000. So the box includes an empty tube for saliva to be sent to a Los Angeles-based lab with prepaid shipping. According to Amazon's website, the turnaround time is between 24 to 72 hours after your sample is received. Raphael.
And Lauren, here a new effort hoping to ensure that no Hoosier goes hungry is now delivering food to those in need. Gleaners is partnering with other community leaders to bring meals directly to homes. It's an emergency option that should only be used if a person is quarantining with COVID or has no transportation. Gleaners says the program has already served 28,000 households alone in Marion County.
We work with Indie Hunger Network to kind of field and man all of those calls. We work with Second Helpings because they provide prepackaged and frozen meals for people. We work with 913 Sports, and there are boots on the ground delivering.
For more information on Gleaner's delivery option, go to the WRTV app and click on this story. Lauren?
Raphael, the time right now is 5:39. If you're looking for a local good read for 2021, two Butler students collaborated to create a children's book that celebrates creativity. Music in My Head is a new children's book written by Jen Molzer, a student in Butler's creative writing program and a mother. It's illustrated by another Butler student, Abaya Kinsey, and it just hit the store shelves before the holidays. And so I caught up with Molzer to talk about how her son, who was diagnosed with ADHD, was the inspiration behind this work.
Reminding kids that no matter where you are in a situation and how you feel, just push through it and you'll find something rewarding at the end, but also that it's temporary. The book covers that because there's a lot of joy and there's a lot of animation and there's a lot of dreams and him getting excited and all these different worlds and fantasy. And then there's a little bit of reality.
Well, if you want to purchase Music in My Head, you can find it on Amazon and at Barnes & Noble. All right, it's 5:40. It's Wednesday. Let's check in on our forecast with Todd. Todd, it's kind of a boring week for you so far.
It is. You know, I never want to have severe weather, but I always do like at least something to talk about as far as some storms or some changes in the forecast. Just not really happening here this week. With that said, it's pretty quiet. The kids getting back into the flow of school after the winter break, and temperatures are not too bad at the bus stop here this morning by January standards, at least 30 degrees with lots of clouds if they are not doing the virtual learning heading home. Temperature only a couple degrees warmer today, right around 37 degrees. Now, as far as high temperatures go, because there's no fronts coming through, there's no big storms coming through, our temperatures really are not going to change much at all as we head into the rest of the week. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, we stay basically between 30 and 40 degrees for your afternoon highs, and that's going to put low temperatures down in the 20s. Once we get to the weekend, though, there is a subtle change, and I think you're going to like it. I'll explain in your 7-day planning forecast in just a few minutes.
Todd, thank you so much. Stimulus checks being sent to the wrong bank accounts? Coming up, WRTV Investigates takes a look at why one tax prep company is at the center of this mishap. Megan?
And Hoosiers at risk of losing their homes thanks to a decision in the hands of state lawmakers. How one group is working fast to keep thousands of people from getting evicted. That's right after the break.
For 30 days and see the difference.
Welcome back. It is 5:45. WRTV Investigates is looking into complaints, Raphael, about those second stimulus checks going into the wrong bank accounts.
Yes, we are hearing from you and we are working for you as well. We received multiple messages from you about this very important issue to you and your family. We learned that this is really happening to some families who filed their 2019 taxes with H&R Block. That includes Ashley Gahagan. She tells WRTV that she tried to reach out to the company and this is what she got.
They said that they had a high volume of calls and so they're not taking any calls. We still don't have our money. And from my understanding, there's a ton of people that this has happened to, and nobody really knows how to handle it or the next steps to take to try to get their money. And it's kind of caught in a middleman.
H&R Block says the IRS determines where that stimulus payment will go. In some cases, money has gone to a different account than the first payment last spring. The company says if the IRS Get My Payment website displays an account number that you don't recognize, to please call them. H&R Block's number is 1-800-HR-BLOCK. But as you heard, some customers are having a really hard time getting through that hotline. You can find out the status of your stimulus payment by going to irs.gov/EIP. You can find all of this information, we know it's a lot, right now on the WRTV app.
Raphael, this morning, a potentially dire situation for thousands of Hoosiers. People in households across the state could find themselves evicted and homeless. This all centers around a controversial move involving the governor and a bill he vetoed. WRTV's Stephanie Wade explains what's at stake.
We are very concerned that an override of SBA 148 would result in increased evictions and homelessness that would negatively impact Hoosiers' public health.
The Hoosier Housing Needs Coalition is worried. Last legislative session, Governor Eric Holcomb vetoed Bill SEA 148 that would overrule any local city ordinance having to do with landlord-tenant relations, saying it was overly broad and prevented almost any type of local control on issues like evictions.
It would expand the process for expedited evictions, allowing less opportunity for negotiation or voluntary relocation and leading to greater homelessness.
It was the only bill the governor vetoed last year and only the second veto of his entire tenure. But discussions of a potential override by the General Assembly this year could happen with almost no prior notice or opportunity for public discussion.
Before the COVID pandemic was upon us, Indiana had a housing affordability problem. Indiana had an eviction problem.
According to eviction data, Fort Wayne, Indianapolis, and South Bend are all within the top 20 major cities with the highest eviction filing rates. Indianapolis is second only to New York City in the number of court-ordered evictions.
What we have seen over several recent General Assemblies is only one side being heard, the industry, which has resulted in the passage of legislation which has pushed Indiana's housing laws to be overwhelmingly in the landlord's favor.
Over 2 million Hoosiers rent in our state. That's 3 in 10 households statewide. An eviction makes it much more difficult to find quality housing or receive rental assistance, especially for the most vulnerable.
Since March of 2020, there's been a 102% increase in domestic violence deaths compared to the same time last year. And this directly can be attributed to COVID-19 due to an increase in economic stressors, isolation, alcohol consumption, and firearms.
Doctors also say children's well-being relies on stable housing.
Studies have shown that homelessness and housing insecurity increase the risk for medical problems such as ear infections, respiratory infections, and asthma, scabies, and lice. Much of this risk comes from families being forced into transient living situations, homeless shelters.
These are hardworking Hoosiers. These are responsible Hoosiers that had their livelihoods impacted through no fault of their own. During a national health emergency, it's the wrong time to roll back or restrict local rental protections.
Stephanie Wade, WRTV.
You can learn more about how to get involved at housingforhoosiers.org. That's the number 4. And time now is 5:55, and let's take a look at the weather with Todd Clausen. Hey, Todd.
Hey, good morning, Megan. Good Wednesday, everybody at home. We're starting off with quiet conditions across the area. It could be worse temperature-wise this time of year in January, but we're sitting right at the freezing mark at 32 degrees. The problem today, once again, is going to be the cloud cover. The clouds are locked in here across the area, and it's not just today. It's going to continue, it looks like, for much of the rest of the work week. No major storms heading our way, though, so that is good news. And temperatures for January are going to be pretty seasonal, and that keeps us in the upper 30s to right around 40 degrees for afternoon highs. Outside right now, we're dealing with the clouds. As I mentioned, they are pretty firmly in place all across the state. And this morning, we'll have mostly cloudy skies. The temperature at the airport sits at 32 degrees. The winds are calm, and so we're not factoring in a wind chill value here across the area today. 31 right now in Tipton, as well as Fishers. 33 is the current temperature in Bloomington as we work our way throughout the day today. It's very similar to yesterday in the sense as the clouds will be in place. Temperatures are going to be in the same ballpark. The one difference, though, today, and it's a good difference, is we don't have as gusty of a wind today as we did yesterday to put the wind chill values down into the mid-20s. So the temperatures you see here on your screen right now is what it's actually going to feel like later on this afternoon if you are going to be out and about. Here are the clouds. There's a few areas where it's trying to clear up to the north, but those areas, once the sun comes up, should fill back in. This storm system with this mess of rain and snow off to our west, it doesn't look like it's that far off, and it's not. And typically these storms move from west to east across the country, but this one is a little different. It's actually going to start to move down to the south, so it is not going to impact us here at all across central Indiana. Temperatures overnight tonight will be in the 20s and 30s, so generally in the same range that we are this morning for temperatures to start off your Thursday, and then throughout the day tomorrow. Temperatures are just going to be, again, in the mid-30s. Skies are going to be cloudy throughout the day tomorrow as well. It's really not until the end of the week and then eventually into the weekend that we start to see some improvement. So Friday, I think the clouds start to thin out just a little bit with a high temperature of 34 degrees, but it's Saturday that will target for the skies to be partly cloudy with a high temperature of 35. And once we get to Saturday, we are going to keep the partly cloudy skies and a decent amount of sunshine in the forecast as we enter next week with temperatures that'll be again seasonable in the mid-30s. As far as storms go, maybe late Tuesday into Wednesday, there could be one heading towards central Indiana. But until then, Lauren, pretty quiet across most of the state.
All right, that's good news, Todd. It's pretty quiet on the roads as well. Let's take a look out there. This is our NDOT traffic camera in the Plainfield area. I-70 just a little east of State Road 267. You can see traffic here is moving along up to speed, both eastbound and westbound. No crashes, no delays around the metro area to slow down your Wednesday commute. Megan?
Looking good. Thanks, Lauren. Well, a special honor for the officers who evacuated residents before the Nashville bombing. A look at the newly completed mural after the break.
People just need help.
Welcome back. A touching honor for the heroic first responders at the Nashville bombing, Raphael.
And this is a pretty cool sight. A mural of the 6 officers is now complete. It adorns a business that was directly affected by that situation. The 6 officers saved countless lives by rushing to clear the area ahead of that blast early Christmas morning. More than 40 businesses were damaged, including the Hard Rock Cafe, where the artwork now hangs. The artwork will be taken down during the repairs, but don't you worry, it will be given a permanent home inside the restaurant when the work is complete. Music City deserves of course, we'll sing their praises this morning, Todd Clausen, for that piece of work. That's simply amazing, and good job to those first responders.
Yeah, absolutely. And I watched the press conference with those officers, and the artist did a tremendous job. It looks very much like what I saw in the press conference. So great tribute there. Temperatures this morning are sitting in the 30s all across the state. 30 in Logansport, 33 in Bloomington. One of the reasons why our temperatures are all within a couple degrees of each other, the cloud cover that's out there. Radar is nice and quiet. It's just another cloudy day, unfortunately, for us. Little to no sunshine, if anything. There'll be a few peaks later on this afternoon. Temperatures near normal, though, as our highs will be topping off in the upper 30s.
I went to bed with this case. I woke up with this case, and it was not an easy situation to be in.
She oversaw the investigation into the police shooting death of Dre'Jon Reed. Only on WRTV on this Wednesday, the special prosecutor speaks publicly for the first time since that grand jury decision right here on Good Morning Indiana.